Okay, well, like I say all the time, you lived inside the new heaven and new earth that was prophesied in Revelation 21 and 22, as well as Isaiah 65 and 66. The entirety of biblical prophecy has been fulfilled. There is not a speck, not a line, not a passage, no bit of biblical prophecy remains to be fulfilled in our future. It's all completed. Continuing along this same line of thought, which I know is highly bizarre for many people to hear, I want to discuss this concept regarding the end of the world, which, let's see, Matthew 24, verse 3. Okay? Now, they ask him specifically, what will be the sign of your coming? What's going to be the sign of the end of the world is what they're asking there in verse 3. Go read the account for context if you want to see what it actually is. And they want to know what it's going to be like at the end of the world, or what's the sign of the end of the world, or what's going to be like at the end of the world. This phrase, end of the world, is a substantial problem. Same thing with end of time. You know, I've had a lot of conversations with individuals regarding what these things mean. And what I run into a lot is that these phrases, they imply a certain thing to us, the modern reader. When you're reading a phrase that says end of the world, you're thinking to yourself, this means that the world must end. Or when you read a phrase like the end of time, you're thinking, well, this means that time is going to essentially end or stop at some point in time in the future. And unfortunately, for the person who believes this today and bases their prophetic or biblical understandings on the actual world ending or actual time ending, you are going in a direction that's way over here from where they intended as authorship is concerned. This is not what they meant at all. If you go look up the word world that's being used inside the Bible, you'll find that it's translated from a number of different words. You have oikimene, you have aeon, you have cosmos. A lot of different words are being used. You have gi. We're using really the Greek words in the Old Testament. You also have the word eretz. These words, they don't mean what you think they mean, but you'll read them in English and it's just word and earth, or world and earth, and you think, okay, he means the whole world, or he means the entire planet. You know, these are not what these words mean. And until a person looks behind these words to see what they actually mean, you are basically going to come to some very interestingly strange conclusions. And such is the case with the end of the world. If a person goes and looks at the word world that's used there in Matthew chapter 24, verse 3, when they say what it will be like at the end of the world, they'll find that word world is translated from the Greek word aeon, which is where we get our modern word eon, or epoch. This is not referring to the world, as in the planet going away. It also is not referring to the end of time, like there's never going to be a 12 o'clock again after this point. This is a word that is referring to the end of an age, or an eon, or an epoch, or a time period, okay? It's not referring to the passage of all time or the passage of the physical planet. It is referring to the end of a time. Now, stop here and consider. You today do not live in the same age as the people who lived in the first century with Jesus. One of the biggest differences between the age that we live in right now and the age that they lived in back then is that they did animal sacrifices at a temple versus we don't. Don't you see that their age ended and another age came? We lived in that age. We live in this age. We've been here for thousands of years. We do not live in the same time. The time period that he is prophesying is the end of that age. They were close to that age ending, and it ended, as everybody very well knows, in 70 AD. Do you see the passage of heaven and earth? Do you see the change of order? Here's another one for you. Back then, in their time, in the Mosaic age, if you will, the focal point of worship was where? Jerusalem. What's in Jerusalem? the temple. Okay? People even prayed towards that direction. Now, where is the temple today? The temple is us. Jesus even tells you he's the chief cornerstone. Ephesians chapter 2 even says that the foundation is the apostles and the prophets. Jesus being the chief cornerstone, we all are being built into a what? Spiritual house. That's a temple. Do you see the passage of heaven and earth? Do you see the passage of the aeon, age? Matthew 24 is detailing the lead up to the passage of the age, which is exactly what takes place when the Romans destroyed Jerusalem, most notably the temple, in 70 AD. So again, when a person is looking at these things, they're saying, oh, the world's going to end, asteroids are going to come and destroy America, or, the New World Order is going to be eradicated, and Babylon, the great Catholic Church that rules over all the people, will be destroyed. You are substantially misguided, my friend. This is not referring to events that are happening today. It's referring to events that were happening back then. And that's it. When you're reading in the text regarding the end of the world, they mean the end of the age. And the age that's ending was that age. That ended. It doesn't even exist. It hasn't existed in 2,000 years. It's a enormous misunderstanding. It seems like it's such a tiny little thing, but it's a big deal. It's a big deal. That's really all there is to it. An example might benefit us. So an example I use to help explain what the passage of the age is, or the end of the world is I use the example of a school. Now, you go to school usually first grade, kindergarten, whatever, and you go to school from then all the way until you graduate high school. Okay? Now, when you enter into the school system at first grade, that is think of it like the old covenant, okay? It has rules. You got to be here at a certain time. You've got to do these certain assignments. You've got to listen to these people. There's certain blessings and curses, even, if you will. If you do what we say, you get to go to recess. You get extra credit, or you get some kind of special benefit. And there's also curses. You don't do what we say, you're getting kicked out of school. You're going into suspension, or going to in-school suspension. Suffered plenty of those. There's a curse if you don't do what we say, just like the old covenant. Do what I say, I bless you. Don't do what I say, I curse you. See, the school system rules over you from the time you're in first grade all the way to the time you graduate. They even dictate when you can take time off. They say, okay, these 3 months of the year, you cannot come here. You get to leave here at 3 o'clock, but you have to be here at 7. You have to go to this class at 1, but you have to go to this class at 2. They dictate everything about your life. That is your world. When you graduate from high school, though, that world ends. Now, did the world stop? Of course not. The world itself continues. But the rulership that covenant relationship had over you ends. And so it is with the end of the world. It's talking about the change of order. Just like Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes unto the Father but by me. You think that's how it was for all time before that? No, he's discussing a change in order. Just like Elijah, when he says every mountain is going to be made a valley, every valley is going to be made a mountain. We look at that imagery and we say, oh, Elijah hasn't come. All the valleys haven't been made mountains. All the mountains haven't been made valleys. Thus, we're still awaiting Elijah. Nah, it's imagery language discussing a change in order, the passage of an age. So yeah, that's all it is. That's what's taking place there. As usual, we got the link below here, so for all the details. And yeah, that's it, guys. Still working on that date, September 23rd, 2017. And just recently, I came across another guy who's also discussing October 5th, 2017 as a substantial prophetic date. So we're also going to be digging into that. These dates are meaningless. What it will take for a person to realize that they're meaningless, though, will not be my words. The actions will prove. When nothing happens, then maybe we can start going somewhere, even though, granted, that didn't do much of anything for the blood moons, and I was very vocal about that. But either way, we're still working on those dates. I've got another series that I've started working for the September 23rd date, And it should become very interesting as the time draws closer and people begin to realize that it's, again, a failed prediction. But for right now, people are quite bold. They're very confident. They really believe this thing. I wonder what happens to all these videos from, like, discussing December 2012, all the videos that were made about that, and all the blood moon videos. Where are these things? It seems like they're all gone. You know, there was tons of those videos out back in the day. They're gone after the process doesn't happen or the prediction fails. It's another thing I've noticed. But that is a topic for other videos. But that is it for today. See you guys.